What's up, everyone? Welcome to the fourth edition of my vlog. And I wanted to start off today's with a little bit of a secret. Something I don't usually, or haven't told anybody, so shh, don't tell anybody. But I don't know what I'm doing. Like, seriously, I don't know what I'm doing. In meaning, like in business, I have no clue. I get emails from people that, when I talk to people, and they assume that, Fright Rag started as some sort of, business plan and had this grand vision, and we set out and we executed and all this stuff, but it's just not true. It's not. And the reason I say that is because, I want people to understand that that's not how pretty much any business starts. And I think if you look at even the most successful businesses, I remember reading, Jeff Bezos came up with Amazon, and on his way out west, something like that, when he was in his car with his wife, he's like, I'm going to build this e-commerce store. Like, it's very rarely do you see the most successful businesses and track their history and go, oh, they succeeded because when they started, this person with this MBA had the best business plan. That's usually not true. It's mostly because people just have an idea, and that's what happened with me. Literally, it was I wanted to create something. I just felt the need to create something. I really liked horror movies, and I have since I was a kid. And I thought, well, I really always liked wearing some funky shirts. I always collected shirts as a kid, and I thought, well, what if I made some cool horror shirts? And I didn't really have any horror shirts, and I looked at what was on the market at the time, and I that didn't speak to me, so I made what I would wear. And it's interesting because that was back in 2003. That was 14 years ago. And I didn't start off the business going, yeah, I can't wait for the day that I can just sit back and analyze my P&L for the quarter and take a look at that balance sheet. And then, we'll figure out where we can nudge our profit margins with cost of goods. Like, things like that. That's not what I set out to do. I set out to make horror shirts, plain and simple. And all that other stuff that came with it all followed. And I had to learn it as I went. And the reason why I titled this vlog the way I did is because I wanted to share a story that sort of illustrated this whole thing. So back in 2005, it was late fall. I had actually been talking to Hot Topic for a couple months. I saw one of their shirts in their stores that actually was ripping off one of our designs, and I contacted them because I was a little bit upset. And apparently the vendor they had bought from had taken one of our designs and sold it to Hot Topic. And so that started this conversation with Hot Topic, and they said, well, what can we do with you guys? And of course, at the time, none of our stuff was licensed. So I said, well, we have this Nosferatu design. It's public domain, and it was just a red shirt with a one color, just a black silhouette of Nosferatu. And they said, yeah, then we'd like to order those. So we went back and forth for a while, about a week or so. And that was about it. And then on my way home from work one day, I got a phone call from my boss saying that he had just received a fax from Hot Topic for an order. and I was like, what? So I turned around and I grabbed it, and I brought it home, and it was an order for 2,000 t-shirts. And I was looking at it with my wife, and I said, wow, like, what? 2,000 t-shirts? And not only that, but they needed them in about 3 weeks from that day. And they needed them delivered in 3 weeks to 2 different shipping locations. And they sent along a 60-page manual to which I had to read and figure out how to fulfill orders for Hot Topic, meaning how to fold the shirt specifically or you get docked per shirt, how to order size tags and put them on, and where to put them on, and how to box them, and how to label them, and how to ship them and palletize them. And I remember crying a little bit, tears of joy and tears of like, how the hell am I going to do this? And I remember, at the time, I was selling maybe 3 shirts a week, about average. So 2,000 shirts to make and print and ship and fold and all that in 3 weeks was a little bit overwhelming, especially because the business was me, like just me, no one else, except for the guy that printed our shirts out of his garage. So we made it work. My wife and my mom actually drove to Albany, which is about 3 hours away from here, to buy the blank shirts because we didn't want to pay for shipping because that would be an extra expense. My printer, Jim, and I printed the shirts over the course of a few days of a weekend. He printed the fronts, I printed the backs because we put our logo on the back. And we had folding parties, and we figured it out. And my boss was gracious enough to let me ship all these t-shirts from our warehouse from where I worked at the time. So we did it. We got it out in time. Still don't know how we ended up doing it. We were able to work with Hot Topic a few more times. But anyway, so we kind of got in the habit of it. For those of you who don't know, when you do an order like this, you don't get paid up front. This is, for companies that are used to doing this, you get terms with the people ordering. So Hot Topic had 60-day terms, meaning from the day they receive the goods, they get 60 days to pay me, 2 months. And, for most businesses doing all this, that's a standard. For me, again, one-person operation, I don't have that kind of money to front, so I had to take out, credit cards and all these things, and basically drain my account to pay my printer because he wasn't giving me terms. So here I am, out a lot of money, and I'm waiting for this check. And December 31st, 2005 came, and I get this envelope, and it's the check. And I rip it open, and it says, Fright Rags, $12,000. And I was like, wow. This is the most money I've ever seen. This is crazy. I can't believe I have a check for 12 grand. And I was able to get out of work early that day, and I went to the bank, and they were open until like 2. And I got in there and walked up there. And at the time, the bank I was using was the bank where I had my personal accounts, but I had opened up a separate checking account for Fright Rags when I started it a couple of years earlier. So I used PayPal, put in all that money into that account, and paid my bills that way. So I walked in there and I was like, here you go, sign the check, go to deposit it. And the guy's like, okay, we can't deposit this check for you. And I said, why? Fright Rags is my business. And they said, but we don't know what Fright Rags is. And I said, what do you mean? It's my business, And they said, well, we don't have that name on the account. And I said, well, can I just put it on the account? And they said, well, we need proof. We need a DBA to prove that you're the business. And I said, a DB what? What's that? And they said, it's a doing business as. You need to register with the county clerk's office downtown. And I said, where's that? I don't know what you're talking about. So I looked it up, and I saw that they were open. They were going to be closing early that day because it was New Year's Eve. So I took off downtown, got in line, walked up to the guys, and I need a DBA. And they said, okay, what's your business name? And I wrote it down, and he got me a certificate. It was like $30. And basically, that's just registering your name as business. That's all it is. So I ran back to the bank. They were able to put the name on the account and thankfully deposit the check before 2 o'clock. And I was able to get the money and pay everything. So that was a learning moment for me. These days, I know that now. But back then, I didn't need to know it at the time. And there's so many things that happen and have happened since. And that was 2005. 12 years later, I'm learning every day. There's things that I will find out, and I'll be like, oh, crap, like, I didn't know that was this now. And then we would change what we do. And it's just been this accumulation of knowledge. I went to college, but this has been the most learning I've ever done in my life because I'm just in it every day. And, I've learned, for me, it's been great because that's what I love to do. So I love learning. It's like going to school every day, and it's wonderful because I get to learn so many new things. And it's interesting because to me, I always feel like the dumbest person in the room because I want to learn so much. And then I have someone email me or ask me a question, and I'm like, oh, I thought everyone knew that. I just assumed everybody else knew that, and I was the only one that didn't. And I realized that most people don't know either, and it's because you just have to do it and learn. So that's why I always like giving that sort of advice or information when people ask, because hell, man, I wish I had that when I was younger and someone telling me what to do. But the biggest thing is you learn by experience. So people ask me all the time, well, how did you start? And, or how do I start my own business? And what do I do? And how much inventory should I start with? Or what should my logo look like? I'm like, you just have to do it. You literally just have to jump in. I created Fright Rags, the website, and the logo, not the logo now, but the first logo, in literally like a weekend. And that was before you could even build websites with a click of a button. I had to hand code HTML. Again, another learning experience. I had to figure it all out because I wanted to put something online to sell. So I learned what to do. And again, nothing's changed 14 years later. I'm still learning. And if you're looking to do something like that, if you're looking to change something in your life and you're thinking, well, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have a degree, I was never given permission to do what I do. I just did it and figured it out. So if you're looking to do something, just do it, figure it out too. Take care, everybody.